Hi, everybody. I'm Laura.
I am Rubina, and welcome to the Echoes and Embers podcast, where we host our soulful banter, discussing the elements each week. This week, we begin a whole new chapter, and we start with fire. Our
Yes.
topic is confidence.
Mm.
So before we get started, let us set our space.
All right. We clear the noise. We keep the warmth.
We're here, you're here, and this space is ours.
What's true can stay.
The rest can go.
Let's begin.
Let's begin.
Begin.
Beginnings, fire, beginnings, storytelling, fire. So, this topic is very exciting, confidence, because I feel like it's something that a lot of people have to earn. Um, when we're young, we may have been born with this spark of personal power, and things that we go through childhood may dim it. We may be more sensitive than others, and sometimes it beams bright for your whole life. But this is really the personal power. The untamed and fiercely illuminating true confidence is something that we rely on, and I think really focus on to maintain throughout our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more of a trust journey. Me and Laura were discussing this. We think that confidence is more of a reflection of the trust that you have in yourself, in your creative power, in
Mm-hmm.
your illumination, the flame inside.
You're
And it's
self
really
honoring.
connected to, yeah, self-honoring and connection to your self-worth, and what your identity is, how you stand in that personal power. And I think that, like we've discussed before, um, that we're always really trying to maintain that transparency and authenticity in everything that we do, the alignment, right? Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's through work, play, just expressing yourself or our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different ways to hone this. Um, you know, Making small decisions and trusting yourself. My journey when I was met Laura was really about learning to trust myself, and the main outcome from that was confidence.
Yeah.
Just making decisions like what do I choose today that is going to honor how I feel inside, like this shirt. Are you going to rock it? Are you going to feel like it's wearing you? Are
Yeah.
you going to go in that role at that job and then feel like you're, you know, performing for this job and it's bearing on you? Or are you going to like shine through it? So I think it's an art form to really get to know yourself.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how clothing, like one week, this shirt makes you feel amazing and confident and vibrant. And then next week, you're like, yeah, this ain't the shirt this week. Like, I have to have
Yeah,
like
even if you
an
love it,
option
like,
of. Yeah, I have to have options because it all just depends on like the confidence level of my day, what I'm facing in the day, what's going to make me feel comfortable but confident. And, you know, it's kind of funny
yeah,
how,
confidence is comfortability.
yeah, it
I
really
think
is.
too. Yeah.
I mean, that's a part of like learning your identity and figuring out what makes you fuel just energetically, not even necessarily just food, but just what choices are you making in your day that are fueling your confidence? How are you applauding yourself in the journey? How are you pep talking yourself and picking yourself up in those moments where you're not feeling confident and, telling yourself that you can and that you will, and just kind of going back into those I am doing a great job kind of sentences. And it can really boost those levels and layers that we go through and experience every day. I think a
One way
couple.
to go ahead.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say a couple times before recording, we both have had to text each other like, "We can do this. You can do this. I believe in
Yeah.
you." And boosting, it's great to have that community of like support where you can boost each other, and then, just adding in the "We can do this." Like we've just, you always have lulls in life where you go up and down, and it's learning how to pick yourself up in those moments to keep carrying on. And self
Yeah.
honoring again, self honoring where you're at and meeting yourself where you're at and picking yourself up. It's been a cool
And
thing.
one thing that's cool is, I mean, how it relates to the topic of fire, of how, you're saying day to day that confidence could change in that specific shirt, and it has to do with comfortability, and how fire, it doesn't stay still, it's moving, it's ever changing, it's growing,
Mm-hmm.
it's being fed by those winds, right? Winds being air, words, like your flame can grow brighter with the infusion of those words. So that's why it is important to have um, people that encourage you and speak those boosts out to you, and why it's so important to have that kind of supportive circle and to express things when you feel them on your chest. I think
Mm-hmm.
that gives you confidence in and builds your relationships as well. And
Well, then
it,
also,
it fuels you, you know.
yeah, also with yourself and like the way you're self talking to yourself. If you're putting yourself down and, you can't expect others to pick you up if you're on the inside constantly, cycling out like
Negating it.
what's negating, thank you, for what's coming in or what you're receiving. If you're on the inside constantly, tearing yourself down and not boosting yourself up, it's never gonna, flow together and you're not gonna receive that like boost that you deserve. So, we all deserve to
Yeah, you
walk through
gotta.
life confident and trusting ourselves and acknowledge, in the righteous way. You can't walk around and say, I trust myself because I just punched this person for whatever reason. You can't, that's not, authentic. You have to be
Mm-mm.
realistic with yourself. You have to find what's true and what's making you feel right in your path and not allowing your ego to sweep away your eco. And eco is kind of like your natural nature of yourself. You can't allow like your shallow perceptions to overcome your natural like self and the eco of your inner self.
One way
I
to
feel
think
like that's
about
a
it too
lot
would
that we
be,
all
okay,
balance. Go ahead.
with the like with fire, right? Is will that truth withstand the fire? Like, if we're
Oh,
trying,
that's a good point.
if we put the, you know what I'm saying? So if you throw
Yeah.
whatever it was, right, it's an injustice that you're trying to say, no, I'm confident in that decision or whatever. If you throw it in the fire, is it gonna rise from the ash? Like, is it gonna
Yeah.
stay like with integrity, or is it gonna crumble and dissolve?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And is it superficial, not superficial? Like
Yeah.
where are you at on the scale of like authenticity with yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you honest honoring your true self? Like where, you got to find what's drawing in for you and what's the truth for you. Um, you know.
And that's difficult if you're not, yeah, if you're not being honest with yourself, because like we said, the main thing I think really comes from self trust. So I one of these experiences that I had recently, I had to really trust myself on the floor. I Okay, so I'm in the restaurant industry, industry, hospitality, right? So I've been working in restaurants for a long time, and many different roles, many different stages, so to speak, where you're kind of performing in a sense for, like, the brand, whether that's your I'm a bartender or I'm a server, and there's a certain concept, and you're kind of like, is it more family style? Is it more like fine dining? Is it whatever, right? So I worked in a 3 Michelin star fine dining restaurant with no fine dining experience, or ever worked in a Michelin setting before. This was terrifying. Okay, I applied for the job on the whim of a friend, and they were like, I'll get you the interview, we'll get you out here, just do it. I said, okay. So that was terrifying in itself because I flew across the country. I went for this interview. They emailed me when I'm like on my way to the airport that they want to hire me. Will you come? And I was like, okay, so that means that I have to quit my job, pack up my stuff, fly across the country, and then start this whole new thing with like I've never done this before in my life. And like I said, it was terrifying. Um, and
That's a big jump.
it was huge, and it really was like the only reason that I did that was because my friend had said, "You, of course you can do this." Like he was breathing confidence into me, like assuring me, like I know what you can do. I know who you are. You got this in the bag, and I'm here to support you. And it's like we were saying earlier, those things are so important for feeding fire and having people in your circle and blowing away all that self doubt and giving you the opportunity to try things.
Yeah.
And if you don't have people like that that's supportive in your life, like the fire, throw all these people in the fire, right, and see
Yeah.
what lasts.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
right, it's
Yeah.
true. Like that's when you get that's if you're surrounded by self doubt, if you are unsure of yourself, if you feel like there's some sort of split in your identity, or you don't feel like you're able to truly express who you are with the people that you're around, you start to discern and filter who is in your surroundings so that you can really shine, because it's a life lived in hiding is no life at all, really.
Yeah. I mean,
It's difficult, it
com-
wears down on you.
yeah, I mean, confidence is your devotion to your becoming. So,
Devotion to
that's
your becoming, that's beautiful. Love that. Yeah, I really do, because honestly, that job that I took and the experience that I had, it elevated everything that I had done in my life up until that point. Like it was the
Mhm.
arena that I was able to hone it, and I was serving wine to millionaires. I was, and at every single table that we had, would be, and I didn't know anything about wine. I was learning a new menu every 3 months,
Yeah.
like with
Dude,
every season change.
that restaurant you
Like,
worked at was like, a piece of beef that, or no, it was a vegan. So it was like a piece of cheese or
yeah, it was vegan.
a beet this big with a little sprout on top for $100 kind of status. Like
Yeah, like
it was about the
it's
experience and you already had the food knowledge, but then the whole like selling the plate through your personality was what you kind of experienced with that and creating the experience. And that's a high
yeah,
pressure thing. I worked at a fine dining restaurant, and the pressure's on. Like the pressure's on to sell yourself, to sell your confidence, your knowledge, and kind of the plate is cute and decorated and classy looking, but it was the wine and the atmosphere and just the vibration that you're creating in the atmosphere that gave people the pull to keep coming back. And there is such a
yeah.
high pressure to that.
It's such a high pressure that I was like crying before my shifts, where I was like, okay, you got to get it together. You want to do this, you
Mm,
can do it. And it's really like, I feel so grateful for that experience because it showed me what I'm capable of.
yeah.
And like, once we got out of, our pre-service, like, and went onto the floor, it was like go time, right? And it was so beautiful how it all worked together with everybody else, their personalities and their strengths, and how it all flowed on the floor. But it really was about displaying your grace and really just being dedicated to service, that you're in this hyper focus mode and everything just like melts together, and you
Yeah.
have to trust yourself, because you
Hmm.
have to trust your timing. And I became a captain relatively quickly, like actually really quickly. And it you have to, not only am I performing on the floor this almost ballet of service for the guests, but you're also performing and trusting your decisions that you're giving to your team. Like you're executing these micro tasks
Yeah.
and delegating these tasks. And I think
Well,
that's why I struggled so hard with the job at first, was because it helped me with my voice. It helped me with my delegation and my trust that I can really lead and learn rapidly in really any environment. So yeah, I feel super grateful for that. Just
Well,
like, yeah,
in an environment like that, you don't have time to stop and self pity or self, just question yourself and your decisions. And then you're also kind of riding off the team's energy, the atmosphere's energy, and you gotta like you're trusting
yeah,
your own timing, as you said, and like your energy and hopping in and being able to pick up at that point and, flow with it. And, you got to go. And they obviously saw something in you if they were quickly to, put you at a captain stage, and they saw your worth, even if at the time you weren't processing it as fast as they were,
yeah,
which is super cool. Like, that goes to show, like, what people perceive you on the outside is not necessarily always what you're perceiving yourself on the inside. And I've had situations in
yes,
life where people are like, no, wait, you're doing a great job. And then I'm on the inside, like, I could be doing better. But it's those little words of confirmation or actions that seriously have carried me through and helped me build my personal confidence over time. And getting, honestly, I would say the job world has been my stepping stone as well in confidence, just because of like the roles that I will be put in, and then I will be quickly like moved up in the ladder, and then given more responsibility, and it's creating trust for myself and my decisions, and just my work ethic and everything else in that. And it really builds a lot of confidence. I've had a lot of jobs
yeah,
in my life, but I've always walked in the door and within a month they're like, all right, you are in charge of these people, or you're doing this. Or when we were kitchen ninjas at the vegan shop, we were both running that kitchen with no boss because she could trust us working
yeah.
together, executing the food out correctly on time, no mess ups. Like, I don't even recall like really ever messing up with you unless we purposely did it so we had a snack, like, but
Yeah.
you run into these jobs or places that you work and you're being trusted with the workload. There's a natural confidence that just kind of starts to build in there. And, you know, it's really a neat thing and a good perspective to kind of have, because we all have to go to work. We all have to, support
Yeah.
ourselves. And
Yeah.
it's a cool way to look at it that way versus fudge, I have to be here. But what are you actually gaining from being put in these roles? Or, look at yourself now. You are an actual like manager of a facility and actually like running the whole thing and the operations and doing it well. Like, the restaurant hasn't sank. No, just kidding.
That's true. No, I mean, it has seen very steady improvements
Well, and
since I've
I
joined
was
the
going to say
team.
everything that, I mean, you've almost been there 2 years now. So I think since
Yeah.
you've started to now, like, from what you've just shared with me, everything's been building and you've been rewriting the manual, or, what is it that you just did a couple weeks ago? You rewrote the
Oh,
server training and,
yeah,
just
yeah. Training
revamping
guides.
everything. So, that right there in itself, being able to come in and execute within a couple of years and helping get a restaurant even further in the business, like, that should give you give you a lot of confidence of your will and your mental abilities there.
Yeah, and it's, sometimes it's difficult to see with people because they think, well, that's just my job, but you really get to step back and allow yourself to feel accomplished with even the things that are just, basics that are asked from you from work. And, some people don't work, and maybe they don't have the arenas that we've had to be able to get that confidence displayed through their
Mm-hmm.
work, or they don't have the drive through that. But
Mm-hmm.
it could be through, expressing art, or like we said earlier, like making small micro decisions in your intuitions in the kitchen and executing a meal, or like dressing yourself, or how you pick your friends,
Mm-hmm.
or you know but it is so important to trust your sense of creativity and ability to just craft who you are and what you like, um, and move through this world, because it's so much more enjoyable. And the more you choose these directions for yourself, the more intense the magnetism of attracting more of what you are and what you like and what's good for you intensifies.
Well, and more
You know?
opportunity to be creative and setting yourself up for that. I mean, look at us here now, recording finally after years of talking about doing this podcast together. I feel like
Yeah.
we finally have not only created the time for it, but have the confidence in ourselves to be able to get in front of a camera, constantly commit to each other and,
Yeah.
be able to just talk. Like, this is honestly a really big thing for me right now, being able to be in front of a camera and just allow myself to talk. Because when I'm on the phone or in conversation in person with somebody I'm close with, it's easy to just, word vomit it all out. But behind,
Yeah.
in front of a camera where people are literally watching or tuning in, and it just becomes, there's a whole nother level of like pressure. And I feel like I've honestly been doing really good personally with it, and the way
Yeah.
that I'm mentally processing it and just like holding the confidence for it. And that's, right here is it's a staple of my growth for me and my, where I've come. I grew up a shy kid, like hide behind my mom's legs, don't really talk to the
Aww.
adults. Um, Even quiet interacting with the cousins or friends. And, I've always done good with one-on-one friendships. In high school, I had a group friendships, but I felt like I kind of just was always the quieter one, and just I've come a long way from that, and it took, I'm 34 now, so 34 years of building that confidence and, integrating my integrity through all of it, and just like finding my motion to keep going. I don't know why. And it's not like I grew up in a home where I was put down. I grew up in a very loving, supportive home. Like, my mom was very nurturing. My dad was a little loud, but essentially, like, you felt the love through everything he did. He worked his ass off for us. So it's like I grew up in a really strong foundation of a home, and I think it was just like, I don't know if I just, wasn't awakened at a young age. Because, you see some kids and they are so confident. Madison has a friend.
Yeah.
She comes over and she sits down on the couch next to us and holds conversation. Is like, oh, or and that's cool. I love to see, especially younger people that have that confidence naturally already. Because I had to work for it. I had to, build my character. I had to shake my negative mindsets. I had to really break through and find my voice. And I feel like it took a lot of time, meeting you, and then also meeting my husband, who really validates how I feel, and and values my word and my input. That's really helped me grow a lot in myself. And I don't think he or you even understand like just the value I have of being able to express myself comfortably and, you know, having that space. So it's been, I really highly suggest find the people that support you and love you for who you are, because there's growth there, and there's alignment, and you're able to blossom through what you thought you were. I never knew I could become at this point where I do walk down the street confident, and, hey, how's it going to the random people nowadays, or, striking conversation and just having confidence in myself. And it was never even a looks thing. It was just a, am I going to sound smart or am I going to sound stupid thing, or, just silly
Yeah.
things like that get in your way of just silly little things. And learning to not let that bring you down and hold you back, and like stepping on the other side of that comfort zone and really propelling yourself into, new experiences and opportunities. I mean, you hopping out the door and flying across the country and just going on a whim, look where it's brought you now. And that choice and that decision you made for
Yeah.
yourself. Like, I feel like since I met you to now, you've always been kind of polished and like professional, but like right now I feel like you really carry yourself different, and I can see the way you carry your confidence. And I really think it did come from that experience or that job you had a couple years ago, where you were like put into that atmosphere. And even to now, like, I just feel like I'm able to call you and be like, yo, I feel this, that, and that, and you're like, nah, we're getting to it, like, and you're able to help me execute certain things or feelings, or, tell me when it's time for grace, or just other, I don't know. I feel like you've been able to really help on the journey. Sorry, I got lost on a tangent.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I appreciate that because I feel like that's really where it's kind of shined through, is my ability to express and trust the words that I'm saying. Because before, like what you had mentioned earlier, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you essentially get stuck in your head. Am I going to sound stupid or am I going to sound smart? That's really what held me back for a long time too, is because
Mm-hmm.
I always grew up in a supportive home too. My parents were always just like, you can do whatever you want, like you're smart, you're beautiful, you got this, like. And it's almost like sometimes when you have all of that too, right from the jump, you're like, you question it. You're like, what did I do to show you that I am this smart? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Those are the kind of thoughts that I had when I was a kid, was like
Well, you're also
having to prove
unaware of,
yourself constantly. Unaware of what?
and well, I think too, you have a pressure that you naturally, or well, you're unaware too of like what that actually means and what that support is and what that like what how to flourish with that. Like it just, you got to
Yeah,
figure
when you're
out where
young,
you
like
started and how to work
it
with it
almost becomes
essentially. Like,
pressure. Yeah.
yeah.
Like the pressure that I would feel as a kid, right? When I would hear those things, is like I would have to like live up to them. And sometimes that, like, you gotta, you know, when you're, I don't have any kids, so I can't say when you're a parent you gotta this or that, like. But I'm just living or explaining from a lived experience as a human, right? As a kid, I would feel a lot of pressure from hearing those supportive words because I didn't know what to do with them, and I felt like I had to prove what you were just saying, right? So that was something is that I had to grow out of,
Yeah.
and learning, like, yeah, like being in that pressurized experience, that was really able to polish me, like as you had said too, is like me trusting what I'm capable of saying and doing on the spot, because there was no time to, question myself or pity myself, because it was like fractions of a second that you could see it in a guest's face if they like lost interest in what you were saying, or you killed the vibe, or you
Yeah.
approached too soon, and or this or that, or and you had like, it was crazy. And like all of everything that I knew that I was capable of, when I would just put the doubt away and I just acted right on what I thought and felt and what I needed to say,
Mm-hmm.
and trusted that the studying I did was enough, because it was a lot to study. And it's like all of these experiences in my life are what, I know about my people, you, and like Ashley and my family and everybody else that's important to me in my life. Like, I pay attention. My presence is strong when I'm with you. So it's almost like studying and knowing, like, when you are having a down moment, or you are having a moment that you might be questioning something, or like need to hear those words, those that wind to the flame to like make you shine brighter. Like, I'm just gonna trust what I feel. And that really, I think, goes into me breathing space into intuition, like allowing the intuitive thoughts, or allowing the intuition to be able to speak, and not having like my mind override. Because like we said earlier, right, the the self-doubt, it lives in your mind. The am I going to be perceived as smart, or am I going to sound dumb, that's like all in your head. So it again brings me back to that savior of mine, which is breath, and breathing space to allow intuition to speak, for you to act on that, for it to build your confidence and build your trust. And that's really what I think, that how
Yeah.
this layers out to be. Because you can't you hearing from other people, which I just explained earlier, right? Outside validation, outer external validation, it doesn't, you cannot have true confidence from that being the basis only. Like we said, we were raised with very supportive and loving parents, and a foundation and home that they believed in everything that we could do. And it didn't really come and shine through until we did it for ourselves. So work on that,
Yeah.
people. It has to come from you,
It's definitely
you know?
it definitely is a practice. It's a practice. Um
Yeah, it's practice. Practice of
Sorry, your
trust.
screen's freezing, so I was well, and
Oh,
and
okay.
realizing it's not your it's okay though. It's a practice, and it's not your confidence is not like your identity. It's a part of your identity, but
Yeah.
it's not your ego. Confidence is not your ego. I feel like those two things get misrecognized together, because somebody who walks in the room and is instantly like just shining and just overly drawing in attention, and in not a loud way, in a gentle way where people are just drawn to that person. That person's walking in with they've got their self in check. They've got their self-worth and self-honoring in check, and they're able to carry themselves well. And there's a difference between the loudest person in the room and somebody who wants the attention and is trying to validate themselves through loud vocals and actions. And there's just a healthy version and an unhealthy version. And learning to maintain your flame and not put it out. And like you said, Ruby, what stays when you throw it in, and learning how to work with that. You might be more confident with yourself sitting behind a screen all day and making the world move faster on the internet. I don't know. Some people are more confident out and about and
Yeah.
interacting and providing a service. Some people feel confident when they're the ones out in like park rangers out there taking care of the preserves and the reserves. And there's just so many different layers and levels and types of confidence, and it's like what's fueling your purpose, really, that's going to bring out that confidence and taking
Yeah.
those actions towards your confidence in yourself.
Yes. Purpose and joy. Um, like, yes. Because if you think of some
Confidence
egotistical kind
is
of person coming in and what? Confidence is.
no, I was letting you finish. I was just gonna. Confidence has just always been my probably my biggest struggle. Really, the more I think about it, I'm just yeah. It's just always been a struggle. I don't know why either. It's just been there for me, and I don't. It's been a lot for me to get over and boost myself up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had good exchange and compliments, and good feedback and stuff in life, and been productive and this and that, and really have built myself up in a lot of ways. But even just now, like getting in my own head kind of in this podcast has been kind of a realization for me, like of shaking that shit off and getting back into like the confidence of who I am and trusting myself to be able to speak. I feel like I've even experienced it during this recording, just a little bit of self-doubt coming in, and like, am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Like, it's so odd how you can let your thoughts invade your mind when you're trying to execute something or express yourself. And
Yeah.
it's just interesting. It's interesting to think about.
It is.
A
It is
little example
interesting.
there, I
And
guess,
I
for
think
everybody.
like we yeah like you said too is how there's some people that like your Madison's friend, right, that come in and kind of beams and doesn't really have a problem with
Mm-hmm.
expressing themselves. I really do think that we come into this world with certain gifts and things that we we have more natural ability with, and we have to work for other things,
Mm-hmm.
even if what we have to offer is amazing and really helpful to the people that are around us. Maybe there that innate feeling of protecting it, right, like protecting our voice and um, having a sense of discernment that both you and I have uh, really honed over the last our whole lives, really,
Yeah.
is, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a sense, like we have these gifts. Like
Yeah.
I want to get this point out because I feel like it didn't fully develop. But it's like we have these gifts when we're young, and for me, I have always felt very protective of like myself and like what I don't want to get hurt, right? So, and that's kind of like why your brain also
Right.
intercepts with these thoughts of like, well, are you going to be perceived this way? Because it wants to keep you out of danger, it wants to keep you out of those feelings of embarrassment. Well, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes those are stronger in other kids than than others. And but allowing that overgrowth in your mind can be debilitating. And that's also why it's important to voice these things, like air them out. Like when you are being asked, like, hey, what's wrong? Or asking a child or a friend in a way that you know is reaching them, and trying to figure out a way to reach them inside without them saying, oh, yeah, no, I'm okay, I'm fine. And you can still feel like something's wrong. It's important to really kind of excavate that feeling and allow it aired, because they probably have something that's debilitating them from meeting that joy, that purpose of any day-to-day activity. And everybody should be shining in any way that they're supposed to be shining on this earth, because it's important. No, we like, I don't want to be around sad people that feel stuck. I don't want to be a sad person that feels stuck, and I want everybody to feel excited about life, because it just makes life easier for everybody. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I don't know why.
You got kicked out? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Interrupted the thought.
That's totally fine.
You've been freezing like the last 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And I didn't know if I should. Your audio is coming through clear, so I didn't know. And because I was reading, like sometimes the visual will catch up with itself through Riverside, the way that it'll like catch it up or something.
Because I
Have you been
haven't
freezing
had,
up?
you haven't been
Has it been
lagging or
freezing on?
anything.
Have you been lagging in your frame on your side?
No.
Okay, then maybe that's just my. Maybe it's my connection, like trying to accept, like it's on my end, and it's just it'll be fine and work itself out.
Okay. Because, yeah,
Especially with it just kicking me
I
out and
mean,
everything.
yours is like, it'll catch for a second, but it's not like holding. But when you got booted out just now, you were frozen. So, and
Okay,
then I realized when I was finishing the thought, I was like, oh shit, is she frozen? Kind of like what happened when I said,
sorry.
it's okay. Um,
We'll splice it.
Splice it,
Sorry, man.
yes.
I got into a weird headspace for a minute. I gotta
Dude, honestly,
drink some.
I kind of feel weird in this headspace talking about this too. Um, Not in a bad way. I feel like what do I feel like? I feel passionate about this topic for sure. I feel like this is really important.
Yeah,
But I think the the basis of what we're getting across uh, is really good, because it's kind of, we're kind of not circling, but like revolving around the same point and driving that home. And I think that's a good thing.
yeah.
But what are you? I also don't.
It's
Sorry,
odd. I
I
haven't.
feel like
I just
what?
haven't felt confident in this recording at all. Can you hear me?
Really? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know if it's my own self. I think it's like literally self doubt creeping in on it.
Which is
That's why I was kind of
hilarious.
touching on. Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
why I was like, well, here's an example for you all.
yeah.
Oh well, I am fine to run with it,
All right.
confident or
And
not.
I bet like running it back, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, no, this is just like we did with the other ones. Because think about it too.
Yeah,
We had that feeling with the transformation episode, and then we watched it back and we're like, oh no.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's probably
I
the
just got
element
lost
just
on some
teaching us a
tangents.
lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but tangents are good. Tangents are stories.
Well, they bring out the authenticity. All right, let's cap this up.
All
I
right,
got
cool.
10 minutes
So,
to get out the door.
ooh, okay,
Oh,
so
fuck.
well, it's still recording, so I can just splice this out. But we can kind of jump back in and be like, all right, guys, we had a little glitch. Here, we'll do that. And then what, you have the meditation up?
I'm getting it up.
Okay.
All right, I got it. Yeah, we'll
Okay,
just,
I'll bring us back in
cap
with
put
the.
a cap on we'll put a cap on our confidence and, go into this and call it a recording.
And going great. All right, so do a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, there's a little bit of a glitch. We're working things out. We're doing our best here.
We're not
So
very tech savvy, so we're
we're
figuring it
not.
out.
No, we're not. But
this has been
yeah,
a big
exactly.
this has been a learning experience, and actually like getting techie and learning this, how to record, how to post, and all that's been a boost in confidence essentially, because I'm like, wow, I can learn things.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we're trying new
still
shit.
learning.
Yeah, still
But
learning, still figuring it out. But we just wanted to, kind of put a little cap on our confidence episode with a meditation. Like
yeah.
Laura had said, we're gonna. I really like the idea of kind of bringing it all together and having a moment with you guys and with each other to honor what our topic was and what the element was. So,
Hmm.
if you are so kind to get us started, Lara.
All right. Well, we can begin by finding a little quiet space for ourselves, and placing your left hand over your heart and your right hand right over your sacral chakra, or your solar plexus. Sorry about that. Which is
Solar
right under
plexus.
your it's right under your chest, so right over the top of your stomach. You're going to close your eyes and take a nice deep breath through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Let your body settle. Let your mind soften. Let yourself arrive. Now bring your awareness to the space just above your navel, your solar plexus. This is your fire center, your power source. Breathe into this space and feel the warmth begin to build. Visualize a golden flame glowing there. Small, steady, soft at first, but alive. Nice deep breath in. Slow exhale. This flame is you. Gently whisper into your heart, I am safe to shine. I trust the fire within me. My confidence is sacred, steady, and real. I do not need to rush or prove. I simply allow myself to be true. Now imagine this flame growing brighter with each breath. It fills your chest, your shoulders, your spine, your entire body. Let this breath radiate to your skin, through your skin like warm sunlight. You're not afraid of your own power. You are anchored in it. Let this flame dissolve any self doubt, any fear, any belief that says I am not enough. Let it burn those stories to ash. You are becoming lighter, clearer, stronger. A nice inhale in and a slow release. Sit in this glow. Breathe in your own power. Let it feel holy. Let it feel like home. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingertips, wiggle your toes. Thank the fire for remembering who I am. Carry your warmth with me today. I carry your warmth with me today. I shine not to be seen, but to become the light I am. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And thank yourself for showing up today.
Yes. Thank you.
Confidence to be here today with you all, with my friend Rubina, and with myself. It was definitely a journey today through this episode of just overcoming a lot of little things, and then honestly overcoming myself and my self doubt, and just bringing myself back home. Had to shake my shit a few times through this episode. So thank
I
you all
feel
for
you.
being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you
This
for tuning in.
Yeah. This flame is the start of chapter 2 on Echoes and Embers podcast. So stay tuned. Next time we are going to dive into water and what's the topic next episode, Ruby?
Connection.
Connection. Ooh.
Connection.
All right. All right.
Oh yeah.
Bring your water and bring your notepad. We might say something cool. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. We might say something cool. It'll be good.
We
It'll
might.
be a good time.
It's always a good time.
It is. We're very excited about this. Chapter 2. Here we go. And yeah, thank you. Very excited.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys
Bye.
next
See you
time.
soon.
Bye.